Hi, I'm Travis,
And I'm Greg,
and you're listening to Building Blank.
a collaborative world-building podcast.
And today we're returning to Delta City. All right, and today we are talking about cities again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the return to Delta.
Yeah. So last time we talked about why rivers make an easy choice, if not the preferred place to place a city. Right?
Yeah.
And I think there's probably going to be a lot of people wondering, and myself included, where would you place a city if it's not on a river? Like, what goes into that, right?
Okay.
But we should probably just give that the episode it deserves, and we'll do it in the future on another day.
Yeah, I think today
Yeah.
we're going to be looking at the city in more like micro scale rather than general where to put it.
Yeah, so we placed our city. It's on a river. We talked about that last episode. Go check it out. It's just pretty basic, but the river kind of gives you everything, right?
Yeah, and just for a recap, what are the size classifications when we're looking at cities?
Yeah, so this was way back in our first episode, I guess, eh?
I think second.
Okay, I shouldn't say way back. It's only, what is it, our ninth?
Yeah, we've been recording for 2 months now.
Yeah, so a small city is 5,000 to 12,000.
Okay.
Large city is 12,000 to 25,000 people.
Okay.
And then a metropolis is everything over 25,000.
Okay.
Those are the guidelines we've been using, and I think those are fairly good.
Yeah, for sure. So when we're looking at cities, I like to look at them as like there's a point to the whole, but also I like to look at the districts specifically. Kind of like work. Sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, what do you mean by a point to the whole?
Well, like, you do the macro stuff where it is. Is it on, is it on a river? Is it, due to mining, etc. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but then like when you're looking at districts, I really like to specialize each one.
Yeah.
And like work on them as if it was a town within the city.
Yeah, and then
so when we say dedicated religion, I think we mean like dedicated like temples and cathedrals and places of worship.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by dedicated for all those. Yeah, it's like the building.
Yeah,
more or less. Like you're not going to have you'd have a farrier, like somebody that shoot horses, and then you'd also have like a blacksmith.
Yeah, they don't do both jobs.
And then you might have an armorer as well,
and
then like some guy that just makes really good swords.
Yeah, like a weaponsmith.
So dedicated or specialized, maybe it's a better word, specialization.
Yeah. Whereas in a village, you would probably have one blacksmith that makes everything from nails to horseshoes to simple weapons to tools and everything, right?
Like, so we need to ask ourselves some questions about a city, right?
Yeah. What are those questions?
Yeah. And then, so I just kind of like thinking of it. And so like, well, some of the things I like asking is, how did the city get there, right? Like most cities aren't just made overnight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like there are some boom towns in like the Industrial Revolution or even boom cities where
they do
almost
grow
overnight they're just huge, right? But I think for this time period, it's likely that they just kind of grew up little by little over time. And they might have been a city for a long time, like some of the like Babylon, right? Like Babylon's been a city forever, or was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it an ancient city? Is it new? What's going on there? And then that kind of gives me, like, in an ancient city, you're going to have like old walls and old temples. And it's probably kind of sprawling and messy, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a newer town might not be, or a newer city. Still could be, though, too. Like if it was kind of built in a rush. Like I was reading that, what's that George R. R. Martin book where it's like his Silmarillion kind of?
Fire and Blood?
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one that chronicles the Targaryen lineage.
Yeah, and they're talking about like how King's Landing was built.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, so it's one of the newer cities in all of Westeros.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, there was no plan to it. Like they had the three hills, and they kind of built on those, putting different things on them, and then everything else just kind of happened. Like they had roads going from each to the water,
and then everything filled
was
in
just
between.
Yeah, and just they just kind of kept working on it, right? But, so it can just kind of be anything you want. But then like the way we're doing the city building is kind of different than the way I would normally do it. Like I would probably build the empire or the whatever I was going to build first, and then place the cities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But because of the nature of how we are, like everything we're doing is brainstorm as we go is a little different. And we don't talk about it between episodes. Like me and Greg, we don't discuss our ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That way it's fresh for when we're recording.
Yeah. So with some of the cities, like I like thinking kind of like how much influence does it have outside the city, or like what would its borders be? Like, is it a standalone city state that's kind of self-sufficient for the most part, or is it part of a huge empire, or is it capital city of the surrounding area?
Yeah,
those kind of things, and that's going to change certain things too, right? Like, I mean, a capital city is going to be a little more magnificent in its architecture and stuff than like an outpost.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it could even be a colony or something. Like that's where we actually get the word metropolis, is from the Greek, meaning basically mother city. Like you'd have a colony or like a bunch of settlers leave one city and go make another city.
Yeah.
And then whatever city they left would be the metropolis.
Okay.
And then basically that just kind of turned into like big city, because if a city's so big that people are leaving it and making other cities.
Yeah, exactly. So it's big enough to like split.
Yeah. So that's that cool. But yeah, so that's kind of just like a little bit of a preamble.
Okay.
But so kind of one of the main things would be, what kind of government would the city have, right?
Yeah. How is it governed? How is that structure?
Yeah. And so is it a monarchy, or is it an absolute monarchy? Maybe it's constitutional monarchy if they're, like modern Britain.
Yeah.
Right? I think they still got that, don't they?
Yeah. That's that's actually what we are.
Yeah.
Here in Canada.
Because we got the Governor General.
Yeah, and the Queen.
Yeah, but I mean, like, she's the representative of the Queen.
Yeah.
But yeah, or you could have like a council or a republic, or it could be
a theocracy.
Oh yeah, that's one I forgot about.
Another one in fantasy could be a magocracy.
Oh, that is cool. I don't even think I've heard of that.
Yeah, there is a city in Forgotten Realms called Thay that is a magocracy. I don't know a lot about it other than the fact that it is a magocracy. Also, in Critical Role that I'm listening to, they're exploring an ancient city that was a magocracy that is like fallen into ruin, and they're exploring that. Like they're going there. That's all I really know about that at the point where I'm at.
Yeah. Okay. Because like the reason I think I like starting with the structure of it, and I just thought of another one. You could be like a tyrant, or like military rule kind of thing.
Okay. Or oligarchy.
Yeah, but basically, however you're running your city is going to determine what kind of like that main building in the center is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have a monarch, you can have a really nice palace, probably, I assume.
Yeah.
And that, like, that would be the capital city too, right? Like you might not even be building the capital.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, that's going to make like who's under the monarch, right?
Like who's, kind of monarchy who's the governing body of this city?
Yeah. And like,
area.
Yeah, how far do you got to go to get to the top, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And then so a theocracy, right? Like you'd have a church or a temple, like the main thing in any of your cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then same with like a magocracy. It could be some cool tower or
or a series of
some,
towers or whatever,
or like a magical boarding school or something.
yeah.
Or yeah, then if it's a kind of more democratic or republic, right, then you'll have.
Yeah, and you can mix and match a lot of these structures too.
Yeah, like it's a word that I didn't think I would be using so much, but we've been saying it a lot, and that's like flavor, right?
Yeah,
like it's kind of all about the feeling you want to get or the flavor you want. And I don't know, you're kind of like just concocting this weird little thing. You're like, oh, I want a little bit of democracy because I want that flavor, and a magocracy because wizards are cool or something, right?
Maybe
magocracy.
A society is highly magic motivated.
Yeah,
right?
And that would make sense, a magocracy for like a lot of cities, right? Like wizards just have a lot of power, and I mean, going off of the just like the genre, sometimes wizards live a long time too.
Yeah,
like longer than normal. So I mean, it kind of makes sense that they would just end up in power, right? But that all depends on your magic system you're using, right? If you have one, even. But then, yeah, so that kind of gets like the center, right? Because anytime anything that you're any sort of governing body, right, is usually centrally located, even if it's not like a central government in that city. There's a good chance it's going to be at least well situated, right?
Yeah. So I did want to like touch back on the mixing of the different types, and a good real world example is the Vatican City.
Oh yeah,
because it's a theocratic, absolute elective monarchy, which are words that don't usually mix.
Absolute elective, yeah.
It's an absolute elective monarchy, right? Because the cardinals elect the Pope, who then rules till he dies, right?
Yeah, and then what he says goes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's the direct link to God or whatever.
But it's just four different, like you would think would be different things, but they're like squished in together, and that's how it runs. It's been running for the last 1,500 years.
Wow. Yeah, I don't even know when the Vatican was founded or any of that.
Well, stuff. I mean, it's out of the ashes of Rome, right? But
yeah, well, like, yeah, we don't need to get into that.
Yeah. But I just wanted to point that out because that's actually the inspiration for my empire, kind of.
Okay.
Because the Emperor of my world, I don't know if you know this, Greg, is an absolute elective monarchy.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. Or if I did, you might have said it like in the first episode. Early
on, yeah. Because basically the senators elect the emperor, but then the emperor rules until he dies. Okay. So it's all cool. Of that except for the theocratic part.
Yeah. And yeah, it doesn't even need to be that organized. Like your city, your orc city in your world is probably like, well, I don't know exactly what it is, but like it could still be a chiefdom, right? Like you still got the chiefs. Yeah.
So basically in that example, the major tribes, there's 8. And they elect a war chief out of the chiefs of those tribes, right?
Okay.
So basically, whoever's in charge has to have the support of the majority of the other tribes. But then that can shift at any time.
Okay, so that's kind of cool. So it's like a democratic chiefdom?
Kind of.
Like, well, I guess maybe it wouldn't even be democratic. That's probably not the right word. But like you need to be a chief to even be elected.
Yeah. Basically, one tribe is in charge because the other tribes let them be, kind of,
Oh, it's actually kind of more like if you just had like we have like liberal and conservative, and then if you just like had 6 more.
Yeah.
Like they got 8 choices.
Basically. And it's also kind of based on like which tribe is the strongest, quote unquote, perceived. And then like some tribes ally with other tribes because they're enemies of different tribes. So
Right, like
yeah, I have a whole
enemy my enemy kind of thing.
yeah, I have a whole like chart that lets me keep it straight. But anyway, we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah,
I think we
but
got off track a little bit.
no, I think it's fine.
Yeah,
Basically, it just kind of comes down to who are the major movers and shakers of that city.
yeah,
And then after that, I like looking at some of the geography of how is it divided. Like without you doing anything to the city, you're like, I'm putting a city there. And then like you kind of zoom in and what is just already there physically that would divide the city up. Like, for example, a river, you know,
yeah.
if you got a city on two sides of a river, you're going to have, you know, right
Or
away.
three if there's a fork.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then like, is there a hill? Like there's going to be something on that hill.
Yeah.
And then like if you're built kind of into the mountains, you're going to have like mountainside and well, valley side or whatever you want to call it. Right?
Yeah.
Or like uptown, downtown kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just like the topography, I guess. Right.
Yeah. It all counts towards it.
And then, and flat areas. Like if you got some real nice flat areas, it's a good chance that'd be like a market or a square.
Yeah.
And
gathering location.
And then, yeah, along the water, like it's going to be like that's obvious, right? You can make a little port area or whatever. And then another one is, does the city have walls? Right?
Yeah.
Like we're in fantasy, so I think it's a good chance that most cities have
most
walls
of the time
if you can. Just because I don't know, walls are cool. I like walls.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should have more walled cities here in Canada. It'd be really cool.
Like that South Park episode where Canada builds a wall.
Didn't think of that, but I mean,
yeah,
why not? Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But so after that, I like thinking of basically where's your First Avenue and your Main Street after that, right? Like you got some major sections divided up. You kind of
that's a Gimli reference.
No, I think there's a First Avenue and Main Street everywhere. But yeah, that is where I got it. I was gonna say Portage and Maine, but nobody would get that.
Well, unless they're in Winnipeg.
Yeah, or Manitoba, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, so there's somewhere that is like the main intersection.
Yeah, what's
the
main road?
If it's in my world, there is an inn on that intersection.
Yeah, and I think that's a great place for an inn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean there would be at least a bar, right? You think
something.
And then those two roads are going to divide it up further, right?
And
so if you got a river, two roads, a couple hills, and then walls, like if you can just imagine in your mind, that's just a bunch of little areas now.
Yeah, broken up.
You just got a bunch of, it's already half broken up for you. So then after that, you kind of need to think like, what else do I need, right?
Yeah.
Like what needs these districts need to be. And so we kind of talked about it. Yeah. Or just like what separates them and what do you need in this city?
So does an actual wall separate them? Does the wall separate some of them? Does the river separate them? Does like it just change as you're going through? Now you're in a different neighborhood?
Yeah. Like, well, in our Delta city, we made canals, right?
Yeah. Everything's like separated by canals, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
Right? Like you can have two districts sandwiched up together with no real defining line.
Yeah. And
your people know, oh, I've gone past 2nd Avenue. I'm now in Slopside.
Yeah. And that could be kind of like some cool like story fodder almost maybe. Or, I mean, just for the history of your world, if you're interested in it, like, why is that the division? Like,
what makes it different?
Yeah, maybe there was something there before, and then there was like a bunch of refugees or something from another city, and then they just like kind of turned that into a temporary holding place for them.
That became more than temporary.
It became permanent, which is like kind of something that is sad that happens in real life, right? And then, but that was like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And now there's just like this part of the town. Right?
Oh, now we're walking into old town, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of the buildings you might have would be like you could have educational buildings, which are like an archive.
Okay.
It's just basically somewhere where you keep records. So that could be right because you're going to be looking at those records if you're going to be teaching, or learning. So that could be in a library, or it could be in a college or university. And so college and university are the other educational things you could have if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
What are some more like fantasy educational buildings you can think of?
In fantasy, like mage colleges.
Yeah.
Or bardic schools or colleges. Typically, I don't usually include like public schools in my fantasy setting. Basically, like if you're wealthy enough to hire private tutors, that's what they do. But then like the majority of my citizenry just works and learns, and like because really like public schooling is a fairly recent phenomenon in the grand scheme,
for sure.
right?
Like in Canada, I think it was the 1850s.
Yeah, which isn't really that long ago.
No.
Yeah. And, so in a medieval setting, I don't think most of the citizenry would have. Now, you got to suspend your belief a little bit because it's assumed most people can read and write. If you're, in like playing D&D, for example, all the characters can read and write whatever language.
Right.
But they don't have to, like your NPCs don't have to follow those rules, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, it was mostly just like the priest class for most of, for European like history, right?
Yeah, and the wealthy.
Were like, yeah, and I don't even know how many of them did.
Yeah, but, so like I like to think of the scene in Game of Thrones when we're talking about this, when Arya is with Tywin Lannister.
Oh yeah,
he's amazed that she can read.
Yeah,
and talks the way she does.
Yeah, because she says, what does she say? My lord, right?
Instead of my lord, yeah.
Yeah, and that gives her away.
Exactly.
He's like, I know that you're highborn, but he thinks like,
because you're educated, right?
Yeah.
So the most of the citizenry in my, basically like you pick a trade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you would be apprentice master kind of relationship, right?
Or continuing on whatever family business, right? Like, if your parents are farmers, if your NPC parents are farmers, the children are most likely farmers.
Exactly. Yeah.
They most likely, if you have an inn, the children probably work in the inn or apprentice to adjacent places that don't have children, right?
Yeah, and then I'm actually next semester, I'm taking a course called Education in Ancient Greece and Rome.
Oh, that's cool.
So I hope to learn some cool stuff from there, and then we can just translate that straight into the old podcast here. Yeah, so you get some educational buildings, and then you need some civic buildings, which is just like if you have an arena, that'd be civic.
Yeah.
The library, museum, maybe.
Yeah, anything like that.
Then after that, you could have some religious buildings and or spiritual, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever works in your world.
Yeah, and then we'll just go through quickly kind of the last few of the things, right? We kind of talked about government already, so don't need to talk too much about that. Just like, you might have like a city hall maybe.
Yeah.
Or like, assembly place.
A records clerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then military, you could have like an arsenal or a barracks.
Yeah, guardhouses.
Yeah.
Gate buildings.
And you can have some like lighthouses if you're on the coast, or like a shipyard, maybe there's a ferry. And then you can have some just kind of interesting things, like if you're an anime, you're probably going to have a hot springs.
Yeah.
Or like we're kind of going with like a Greek Roman sort of thing, so maybe you have a bathhouse.
A bathhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually do my bathhouses as like a private owned, and they usually
Right.
double as an inn. And the ones that I have made in my world.
Yeah. And then the last thing I kind of like to think about, or maybe not the last thing, but is like some of the luxury resources.
Okay.
And it's just like, if this city could only have one resource, what would it be? You know, what could it not do without?
Yeah.
And yeah, like we could go right into the luxury resources, but we're kind of running low on time here.
Yeah. So I think we're going to take a quick little break. And after, we are going to zoom in onto Delta and start building some stuff.
Yeah, we'll, kind of go through what we went through here and
set up some of that stuff.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. See you guys after the break. All right, and welcome to the break.
Yeah, welcome. We got a couple things to talk about, eh?
Yeah, we got a couple things. We got a couple updates. I have a brand new open Coca-Cola beside me, and let's just jump into it. We got a couple things to talk about. So I want to talk about our WorldAnvil. Greg has been hard at work. He's been transcribing all of our what we talk about into articles, and he's also been working on a language. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Greg?
Yeah, well, I was talking about that vulgar lang, remember? I got really excited about it. Maybe a little too excited. But so anyway, I've been working on it, trying to figure it out, and I ended up making a language that I think is going to work really well for our orcs.
Okay.
And it is called Thrusian. Well, it's like Thrusian, so it's either Thrusian or Thrusian.
Okay.
So I guess we got to decide on that. But yeah, posted it on our WorldAnvil. They're compatible, and so it's got the dictionary with over 4,000 words in it. It's got a number system. It's got the morphology and like the phonology and all that stuff, and like the sentence structure, vocabulary, some common phrases. It's got female, male, and unisex names.
Okay.
Common, and then some common phrases. And so that is on our WorldAnvil, and we're gonna start naming things using that language orc things especially, right?
Yeah.
But if anybody wants to use it, go for it. It's on there. We're gonna link to it.
Yeah. So
and just have at it.
Yeah. So anything we do, like really, this is an open source world that we're building. If anyone wants to use it for your D&D campaigns or your novels, or just take bits and pieces of it, go ahead, by all means. That's why we're doing this. We're going to put the link in the show notes, and we're going to make a post about it on our Facebook.
Yeah, and then the other WorldAnvil thing is just our maps.
We're going to post all our maps there.
Yeah, I've been updating them. So we only got 2 now. We got like the very first rough one where it's kind of like just getting kind of discovered. Like we got the forest and the mountains, and then there's the newest one where it's got Delta City in it and everything. Yeah, and then it's just gonna keep getting updated. The world's gonna keep getting bigger. Then WorldAnvil, like you can link to everything in there, so then you'll be able to go and then see the world view, and then click on a city, and then go to the city.
Yeah, and Greg's been working really hard on that, and I want to thank you. We're also going to start putting. Now that I figured out how to use show notes, we're going to start putting in links to our weekly inspirations, if there's a linkable thing.
Yeah, or just anything we talk about.
Anything we talk about, we're going to try to link in our show notes. Also, we're going to start on Facebook and Instagram. We're going to start posting a graphic with our weekly inspiration and asking you guys about yours, because we really... we want to know what inspires you, and we're really doing that just to show like where ideas come from. Yeah, and like help each other find inspiration, and what you got this cool idea for your D&D campaign, and where it come from. Whereas you got a cool name for a character in your book maybe, and it didn't even come out of thin air. There's a reason for it. Yeah. So we're also uploading our audio files to YouTube. It is taking a while. I'm only doing 2 a week, until we catch up, because my computer is very old and cannot really handle what I'm asking it to do. So it takes me about 2 hours to encode our audio file into a video, with me sitting here moving the mouse so that it doesn't go into sleep mode. But yeah, so that's coming along, and also we have made a Discord server. We're gonna put a link in the show notes, and we're gonna post on Facebook about it. But just come say hi. Yeah, we're gonna make a server, and if anyone wants to join up or talk to us directly, that's a great way to do that. So yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that Discord thing, just like going into that a little more, like we're both new at this, obviously, right? But for this collaborative part of it, I think we've both been kind of like, how do we make it more collaborative?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, with the lockdown and everything is making it its own issues, but with the Discord, I think it might be the solution.
It's a more direct link to people rather than on Facebook.
Yeah, it's like more direct, but also just kind of more open and casual.
Yeah,
like
more. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, if you have any questions, like even about the language or just about anything, or maps, or you just want to, like, you got a good character idea, just type in the name.
Yeah, let us know.
As much as or as little as you want.
All right, awesome. Well, with that, I think we're gonna get back to the show.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
All right, and welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
All right, so where are we starting, Greg?
Okay, well, like we said, we're going to keep working on Delta City, so let's maybe do a little recap from last week.
So what did we do last week, Greg?
Well, we made Delta City. We followed the Clearwater Rush down from the mountains through the Iron Tree Forest to the coast, where there's a delta, and the delta got turned into a city. They made some canals through and like kind of drained it and basically made like a triangle.
Okay.
Like the delta symbol. And then the canals dissecting it into basically the Triforce.
Basically, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then from there we were kind of talking about some districts, but I think we needed some time to stew on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's pretty much it. Like we made the Triforce, we kind of got a Greek sort of theme going on.
Okay.
And there's an Acropolis in the center, and then 3 other districts. So there's 4 altogether total, like 4 little triangles.
So this big one. Did we settle on a government structure? We
were talking about doing like a republic.
Okay.
Right?
And it's a city-state, right?
Well, we didn't get there yet, right?
Okay.
But
do you want to say it's a city-state?
Well, I had an idea, and then just let me know.
Okay, just you tell me your idea.
Okay, so after the Triforce thing, I did some research. Like after you were talking about it, like that was your idea, basically, right? And then the canals and stuff, which is a great idea.
Okay.
And I loved it. So I was looking up some Triforce stuff just to see, like, oh, what can we do there?
Okay.
But anyway, basically it's from like Zelda, right? But it was been around longer than that. And the 3 things represent power, wisdom, and courage.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool. And then
like from Zelda.
Yeah. And then Ganon, the bad guy, represents the power.
Okay.
And Zelda, the wisdom, and Link has the courage.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like supposed to be 3 parts of this Triforce.
Of the whole, yeah.
And then like I said, it comes from I looked it up. 12th and 13th century Hojo clan used a similar looking symbol.
Okay.
Called the Mitsuroko.
Okay, and that's Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so in that, same thing. It's the 3 triangles represent power, wisdom, and courage.
Okay.
And each of those corresponds to the body, the mind, and the soul.
Okay.
And so the power is the physical virtue, wisdom is the intellectual or the mind virtue, and then courage is the spiritual or the soul, right?
Okay.
And kind of like each on its own isn't very good, right? Like if you have power without wisdom or courage, and then what good is it, you know? Or same thing, wisdom without strength or courage. Or probably the worst one, if you have a bunch of courage, like if you're just all heart, but you don't have any wisdom or any power or strength, you know, pretty useless, right? But all three together in equal parts is balance.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of going on thinking about that and thinking about what they different things meant.
Okay.
And then I was thinking like, hey, we got 3 races.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we got dwarves, we got humans, and we got orcs built already.
Okay.
And so what if our Triforce kind of thing, like each of the districts was one of each?
Okay.
And then I was kind of thinking like the power could be like the dwarves, right?
Yeah. And they're industrial and such.
Yeah. And then the wisdom would be kind of like that'd be the place for the elves, right? But
we're substituting orcs.
Yeah. So then maybe the orcs are the wisdom.
Okay.
And then making courage the human element.
Okay.
And I thought courage would work really well for humans.
Yeah, I do like this. I thought you were going to take it in a different direction while you're talking about that. So how about if the government structure of the city is like a triumvirate council?
That's exactly what I wrote that down. I was like, triumvirate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like from a representative from each part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Like almost like it's a city of embassies kind of thing.
Yeah. Where like the 3 parts come together here.
And then like
and in the middle is like neutral ground where it's like where the civic structures would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you think of that?
I like that.
Okay, because that's kind of what I was thinking. And then I was thinking about maybe some names for these districts.
Okay.
And trying to play off that theme. I got some kind of interesting things. So let me just throw them by you.
Yeah, shoot.
For the dwarves, I was thinking the borough.
Okay.
But like, you know, like borough, like BOROUGH.
Like like a neighborhood. Okay.
And basically the definition of a borough is a self-governing walled town.
Okay.
And I mean, that's exactly what that one section of the dwarfs would be.
Yeah.
And then not to mention burrow just sounds like burrowing, digging.
And it's a callback to like the bunny's burrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then it'd be spelled different.
Yeah, of course.
And then where was it? Oh yeah. So I looked up what a Greek, you know, maybe districts or cities might be called.
Okay.
And I found one that was called an emporion, like not Vaporeon, but EMPORION, an emporion.
Okay.
And it basically means it was a Greek trading colony.
Okay.
And we were thinking of making like a trading section, right?
Yeah.
And basically an emporion could be a self-contained settlement or a section of either another Greek polis or of a non-Greek town.
Okay.
So it's like literally a section.
Okay. That's cool.
It's kind of same thing. You got the borough and you got the emporion.
Okay.
And they're kind of like standalone.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking like, what could the orc one be though, you know? And what I ended up coming up with, and let me know what you think of this, but just like the sanctuary, maybe.
Yeah. So what I was imagining when when you were talking about the 3 parts, and when you're talking about the 3 races, is I was picturing like the dwarven section is very industrial. Like that's where you have smokestacks, there's forges going, building stuff, right? The human section is like a big market where there's some craftsmen, sure, but there's like also food and you know, like what your standard medieval fantasy human market town kind of place would be.
Yeah, right? It's bustling.
Bustling, busy, vibrant. But then the orc one, I was thinking of like it being more spiritual.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Where there's like maybe in the middle of this place there is a transplanted iron tree that is
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
and it's more I was thinking of like the Darnassus Night Elf city in World of Warcraft, where it's like basically built around this tree,
Okay, yeah.
this large tree, and then everything is like kind of built into it more natural for that area.
Yeah,
And then of course bridges between each, and then like a mix in the middle where it's like more type of governing buildings.
yeah, maybe they got like really well made dwarven buildings with like some nice trees,
Mm-hmm.
and then with
Very
like
beautiful
a kind of
gardens.
with like a Greek flair maybe, or something, some human element. I don't know. But yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking.
So we're
So
basically
that's awesome.
building 3 smaller cities in one city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
So, and then separated by canals,
Mhm.
and they could all have like walls also.
Yeah, at least on the outside edges.
Yeah, at least. Because I don't know how that'd work for the canals then, right?
Yeah.
Like if they had walls on the inside.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of like basically on the 2 sides of the triangle, of each triangle would have a wall, with the ones pointing inwards not having.
Yeah, so like what kind of buildings? We kind of went into that a little bit. You know, like, do you think there would be in like an education building or some sort of like thing like that?
Yeah, I think that would probably be in the middle.
Yeah.
Some kind of higher education. Again, I don't want to do like a public school type system because I don't think that would exist in a medieval setting. But somewhere maybe to do with the arcane or higher learning for nobles and the wealthy.
Yeah. And then it's also kind of like brings up a lot of things, right? Like, why are these 3 in league together? Well, I mean, not why, but like, how deep does this go? Like, is this city a one-off, or is this triumvirate more like a expansive thing? Like, is this a theme for the rest of our world?
Yeah, so it gives me like, it's not a the idea I have for this is not really for this episode, but when we talk about like origin stories or creation myths or like hero myths, I think that when we do an episode on that, we should focus on like why are these 3 together.
Yeah, I like that. And kind of like I was also thinking kind of like a Wolverine.
Okay.
Right? Like he's basically constantly fighting that beast inside of him, isn't he?
I think so, yeah, depending on the run.
Because I don't know too much about him, to be honest,
No,
other than the movies. So I don't know. Like I won't even go there. But so then we don't have to have the answers for all that right now, right?
Yeah. I think that might be for another episode.
And then we were talking about the language, right?
Yeah.
And on the break there. So, and I kind of mentioned this to you before we started, was that like maybe this Orcish or this Thrucian would be kind of like a Latin version of kind of basically the way Elvish is in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now we could start naming things with these Orcish names, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think of our orcs as like the oldest race or one of the older races.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to work with there. Like,
yeah, it's interesting.
We could really work on something cool there, or we're going to, I guess, right? But yeah, so do you think the districts would get broken down anymore?
Probably. I think what we could do is we could easily break each district down and do a whole episode on a district, right? To be honest. I kind of want to get the main bits out of the way right now.
Yeah. So what do you think are the main bits? What do you
main
think
bits?
Cover here?
Well, we've talked about the structure of each. I really like how this is going. Inns. I guess they're an inn.
Okay.
In each district?
Yeah, we could think of an inn for each, or like maybe we don't need a name, but we can start to think about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's the like resource, which we've already talked about? What else is necessary for a district specifically?
Yeah, so like kind of by the sounds of it, they're almost kind of self-sufficient, or like could be, or maybe not self-sufficient, but could survive each on its own.
Yeah, in emergency situation, right?
Yeah, like the whole thing I would think was that they work together, right?
Yeah, but like so my in my head, like the human district is where like the boat stock.
Yeah,
and that's where most of the trade, like the dwarves build stuff, and then gets sold in the human district, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Food comes into the human district and then gets distributed throughout the rest or such.
Honestly, like as much as I like the orcs and stuff, I'm having trouble figuring out what do they bring,
Yeah.
Like maybe they are very like sage-like and wise, but what is that? How do you sell that? You know what I mean? Like, not saying that everything has to be capitalist, but like city needs to serve a purpose, right? Like it needs
to... So I'm thinking, of course there's going to be specialists, right? And there are 4 specialists. So are they hunters? Are they like woodsmen? Are they guides? Are they fishermen? Maybe.
I don't know. Like, would they be fishermen if they were kind of like woodsy?
Well, in the river.
Yeah.
Right. Like maybe there was a hero or a group of heroes that had to overcome some kind of ancient evil, etc. But I think that's for another episode.
Yeah, I kind of thought along those same lines, but I was thinking specifically for the orcs. And I kind of thought like maybe the reason they're peaceful now is because like out of necessity.
Okay.
Like they're so like orcs are physically imposing, right? Like no matter what, I mean, most of the time, right? And so maybe
in general, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe they knew like we got to figure this out, or we're just going to get killed off because everybody's scared of us.
Yeah.
And then so maybe there are still parts where like or we're like orcs, but they're just like pretty much extinct almost.
Yeah. I like the idea that like orcs, I've been thinking about this, and I like equating the orcs to like the Jedi from Star Wars. Where like they kind of like suppress their emotions almost to be wise, like that's the point. But like maybe they have like a deep wellspring of like emotion that they can tap into if they need to, or like a great rage or something that they've been suppressing for generations, or like the Vulcans from Star Trek, or probably any number of things,
or like the Stoics from Greece and Rome.
Yeah. I do like the idea of them being more spiritual and sage-like, but there's going to be variation. Like not all of them are going to be doing that, right? And again, like there's going to be some overlap. I think like there of course there will be like a forge or two in the human area.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
There's going to be a butcher in the dwarven area, right, etc. Like there's going to be some mix and match.
Yeah, I think probably the easiest way to answer this question, though, is like not even think of them like orcs. No. But just like what would an elf section of a city be?
Yeah.
And I immediately think of like, mages and.
Yeah. So are they more inherently magical, right? Is this maybe where people go to learn magic?
Or maybe the
like
education,
magic, right?
Yeah, maybe that building isn't in the center. Maybe it's in
Well, maybe the arcane magic is in the center, but like spiritual magic, like clerical magic, druidic magic,
Yeah, Druid. That'd be cool.
right? Like maybe that's people go there to learn that.
Maybe they teach history because they're old.
Maybe, right?
I'd say that all. Never mind. I'm not even going to go there. Yeah. And then, so another thing talking about in like building a city is the area of influence. Like, how much threat is there outside the city?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually kind of forgot to talk about this, but like if you're a border town, you're not going to have, it's going to be more defendable. You're not going to have like a sprawling farmland outside the city necessarily. But I'm just saying, like, if it's on a borderland, right? Like, if you're constantly getting pillaged and raided, that'd be different than like a capital city in the center of your kingdom, where it's probably just like your capital and then farmland all the way to the next city.
Yeah.
Or, well, maybe not farms necessarily, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I'm just pulling up the map that you made. And I like to think that the area between Delta and the forest is good, like farmland.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it is a city state, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if we're going with more of a Greek theme.
Yeah.
Right? Having cities be like city states, more or less.
Like, I don't think every city of the triumvirate is like this.
No.
This might be the city that kind of represents the rest of the relationship. Okay. And that's the thing, right? Like, so what else is around this city now? So we got some farmland down the river. And then, that map, like, there might even be woods north there, right? Like, not just along the mountains.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of blank space on our map. So, like, really, we can put anything. I just had an idea.
Okay.
And I don't know. Yeah, I just had an idea. So, what if there is a kingdom of some kind or an empire or whatever in the northern part of the map, right?
Okay.
And a rival one in the southern part of the map. And this area here along the river is like a buffer that is neutral and independent.
All right. I feel you. But now who are in these other cities?
That is a question for another day.
Yeah.
Another episode. Because, I don't know. I think I like the idea of it being like a neutral city state for whatever other things that are around.
That's all I was going to say. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that, like, they don't have to be different peoples. Like, it could be two human kingdoms for all we know, right? That are don't get along as well, right? This coastline could be littered with different city states that have expanded or whatever. We don't really have the time to answer that question today, but I like the idea.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I like the idea that the humans are just like coastal, like, right? Talking about triremes and, they're more like explorers maybe. Yeah, true. And they don't have to be all Greek theme either. Although I like thinking of like cultures and people like kind of flowing like water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if you had two different themes, there's going to be mixing.
Of course. There always is.
From proximity, right?
And I just like the idea of it being like a neutral party, right?
Yeah. I like thinking of like maybe the orcs in general being neutral a lot too.
Yeah. That's probably why, because it's very built upon. And again, that would have to come from a like origin story type episode.
Yeah, which I think could be really fun.
Yeah, I think that would be really fun. But anyway, I think that is just about all the time we have for that today. So what I think we're going to do is we are going to break up the Delta City into each district and do an episode on each one specifically and do builds on each one separately.
Yeah. And then like while we're doing that, we could we can figure out what's going on here, define that northern and southern city.
Yeah. Or in between, or however. We might not do that right away. But I do have a question for you, Greg.
Go ahead.
What's your weekly inspiration?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's been a crazy week just with the exams and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have too good of a weekly inspiration.
Okay.
It's just my screensaver for my Windows was, now I can't remember how to pronounce it.
Does it do the thing where it's different every day? But I think what I'm thinking is like whatever Northern Kingdom, it kind of mixes a little bit with the Greek middle city-state. And so does like the southern one, right? Like there's a area of like overlap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, it's like changes every week.
Yeah, okay. My work one does it every day. It's different.
Yeah. It's like basically it showed like all these stone pillars, kind of mountain looking things.
Okay.
And it was and it's Chinese, so I can't pronounce it very well, but it's like Zhang Jiaji National Forest Park in Hunan, China.
Okay.
And it's just it's a bunch of these sandstone kind of like pillar looking things. Okay. And to me it kind of looked like this petrified forest.
Okay.
Like maybe these aren't stones or mountains. Maybe there was like a huge forest, like on a grand scale.
Yeah.
And like they're all kind of at the same height too. So then it kind of looks like these trees were like blasted in like an asteroid impact or something, and then just like immediately petrified.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, and reading about it, this national park, Avatar, the blue people, not the Last Airbender.
Okay. The James Cameron Avatar. Okay.
Yeah, they took inspiration from this place for their Hallelujah Mountains.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they actually, in China, they named one of the mountains Hallelujah Mountain, or Avatar Hallelujah Mountain or something.
Neat.
So it's kind of cool. Like, I was like, hey, that's cool. And I got an idea about it. And I'm reading about it. And like, oh, James Cameron or whoever also was inspired by these amazing things.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I'll have to look that up and take a look at the picture.
But yeah, I was just thinking like, what's the point of this weekly inspiration?
Okay.
Like not like in a, like, you know, what's the point? But like just trying to think about it. And I think what we're really trying to figure out is like, where do ideas come from?
Yeah.
You know, like by doing this. But anyway, what was yours this week?
Well, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, so I saw it and I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was also kind of funny that it was in there for like a second and then they don't do anything with it. It's just in the background. Right?
Yeah.
Like literally.
I like that.
The opening musical number is just in the background. And picking grapes, and it made me think of the pickled pig, and I thought it was hilarious.
Well, do you think we should put that in the human district?
Maybe we will.
The Emporion?
The Emporion with the Pickled Pig Tavern. I think that's a great idea. We should use it.
I like it. It sounds like there would be like a special shot, like a drink or something with like some weird pickled pig part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I thought it was clever, like on multiple levels, because like you could serve pickled whatever, but then also like, you know, you get pickled by drinking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
I just thought it was funny.
Oh, I think that's a great tavern name.
Yeah.
I'm excited to place it.
Yeah, I am excited. So with that, I just want to touch on what we're going to do next week. I kind of want to keep it a surprise. We're going to take a break from Delta City, and we got a little holiday special thing for you guys next week. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Is there anything else you wanted to mention, Greg?
Well, no, just again, we'll have it in our show notes, our WorldAnvil, and you can check out.
Yeah, we're gonna start putting. I figured out how to put links in the show notes in the descriptions. Yeah. So go check out our WorldAnvil. Well, this week my partner Emma and I watched the Muppets Christmas Carol, which, if you haven't seen it, it is very good, and I recommend you go watch it. Anyone who's listening, but there is a sign in the background at about the 3-minute and 20-second mark that people are walking in front of, and it was a sign for a tavern called the Pig and Grapes Tavern, Pig and Grapes Tavern. And I thought it was funny, and for some reason it made me think of I was like, oh, that's a neat name, that's funny. It made me think of like the Pickled Pig.
Pickled Pig.
Yeah, the Pickled Pig Tavern, and I'm definitely going to use that somewhere. But yeah, it was like on the screen for 2 seconds in the background, and I was like, okay, that's cool. But then I've been thinking about this Pickled Pig all week since we watched it, and I couldn't remember what the original sign said.
Okay, yeah.
So before we started recording today, I loaded up Disney Plus, found the Christmas Carol, and I was like scrubbing through the little bar here trying to find it.
Yeah.
And it took me about like 10 minutes, and I realized it's like right at the start at like literally 3:21 is where it is. It's on screen for like 2 seconds, but it took me like 10-15 minutes to find, just so I can remember like what the actual sign said, so I can tell you guys.
And your brain just immediately saw tavern and just spotted it.
Well, it's because it was weird to me that it was in here because it's the Muppets, right? But I guess it's more, they're emulating like Charles Dickens' time, right?
Yeah. True.
And there's actually a lot of cool signs and funny little gags in the back. Greg's been doing a lot of work on that, building a whole language and writing down the articles of what we've talked about. Go check out our Facebook, Building Blank at gmail.com. I said the wrong one. Facebook, Building Blank, a collaborative world building podcast. Instagram, you can find us at Building Blank Podcast. And then Gmail, of course, Building Blank Podcast at gmail.com. If you have any comments or you just want to say hi or let us know that we missed anything, please let us know. We love hearing from you. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Well, yeah, with that, have a great night, great day, whatever time it is that you're listening, and be safe out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Be safe and